For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nicholas, but most people call me Beach. I arrived at Next High School as Nicholas, but 4 years later, I'm leaving as Beach. I'm a completely different person after Next High School. What I think is for the better. This school has really changed me. It's made me who I am today. I deeply love this school and everything it's done for me. I love the people that I met, both peers and pros. Just everything has been probably the best experience so far in my life. I can't tell you how many times I've heard other people say, I love this school. I can't tell you that because that'd be a really weird thing to keep track of. So just assume it's a lot. I think a big part of why everyone loves this school is due to the amazing principal that we have. Someone who genuinely cares about the health and safety of every student. Someone who is out in the car line every morning to make sure everyone comes to school safe and greets everyone with a big good morning. Who goes down to the lunch line, make sure everyone is eating and getting the food they need. He is always very transparent to the peers and pros and to the parents about everything that's going on in the school. He's a great mentor to me, which is why it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Rick Schwartz.
Thank you very much. It's my honor to be asked to give the convocation speech today. I basically asked myself to do it, but I'm good with that too. I kind of run the show. And I'll start off like I start off every morning with the kids, the pros, as I say, good morning, beautiful people. So 2 years ago, when I accepted the position to be your principal, I did what I always do when I have great news. I called my mom and dad. So I talk to my parents every day. They always give me words of advice, even when I don't want it, and sometimes I even listen to them. But on this day, after I gave them the good news, the phone fell silent. The next words were from my mother. She said, "You've got to be kidding. You were such an average student." Gee, Mom, thanks. But my father was next, and he said, "Mr. Match would be proud of you." Wow, I didn't expect that comment, but it was perfect, it was correct, it was spot on. See, Mr. Match was my high school guidance counselor, and he believed in me. Actually, he believed in all of us. He never gave up on us when we gave him plenty of opportunities to give up. He had an uncanny ability to look through those rose-colored glasses. He never rushed to judge others, and he always found it in his heart to choose love first. Looking into his eyes, you could see the soul of a man who truly believed that he could make a difference in kids' lives, a difference in a community, and ultimately a difference in the world. He was a real deal. Mr. Match was the giant of a man, and his words spoke volumes, as if he could always anticipate the irrational behaviors of teenagers and was always there when our brains were just overcome with stupid. To understand him, though, you must understand where he had been. In World War II, he was a paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne Division, and he had jumped ahead of Allied forces in the invasion of France on the 6th of June, 1944, behind enemy lines. That was 75 years ago, today, this hour, this minute. His job was to destroy a railroad bridge to prevent German reinforcements from entering Utah Beach. This was my guidance counselor. But see, he never got to do his job, so during his ascent, his parachute became tangled in a tree, and he was unable to free himself. While hanging upside down, he cut himself free only to fall and impale his shoulder on a stump. His fighting days were over, and he was captured, and he was held in a prisoner of war camp until the end of the war. And at the time of his capture, Mr. Match spoke fluent Italian and English, and he was segregated into a camp with other Italian Americans. Every day, he was transported to a nearby concentration camp where his work assignment was to remove the human ashes from the furnaces. Incidentally, Mr. Match was Jewish, but his captors never knew that. Mr. Match was my guidance counselor. And Mr. Match never talked about those experiences, but you could see in his eyes that he stood on the front porch of hell, all before his 19th birthday. See, my point in opening up with this story is simple. I spent more time with Mr. Match than I did with my own family. Yet I failed to appreciate that I was in the company of a national treasure. I have regrets. One of those regrets is I never took the time to listen. He had so much to offer. I had so much to learn, but I never asked the questions. I miss him terribly. Mr. Match, this is for you. Now let me take you back through my journey. I'd like to take you back to my high school graduation. It was 1980, right around the time of the Civil War. Yeah, you got it. I remember it well. I was an 18-year-old kid sitting right there with a few whiskers on my chin. I had shoulder-length brown hair. I had about $5 in my pocket, and I didn't have a clue in my head. I carried around drumsticks in my back pocket because I was going to be a rock star. That was my destiny. But I knew I was getting ready to set off on a life adventure, and I was determined to make these last few minutes of high school memorable. I was finally set free from the books, the research papers, and the teachers who punished me with hours of lectures. Yes, I had pros like Michael and Amy and Mr. G and Brad and so on. And like you, I was free, never to have great responsibility again. What a fool I was. But on the day of my graduation, I was sitting in a folding chair with 500 of my closest friends wondering one important thing. Where was the graduation party going to be? Well, the grand pipe organ was bellowing out some church hymn like vaguely sounded like Aqualung from Jethro Tull, and it was spring, and I was sitting next to Stacy Stahersky. She was smart, tall, brunette, beautiful, and more importantly, we shared one thing in common. Our last names both started with the letter S. And since our freshman year, we were always paired together for one event or another. She didn't know it, but we were a perfect match. The only problem was she didn't know I existed. We settled into our places, the music stopped, and the graduation speaker took the podium, and the rest is kind of a blur. But there I was, sitting next to the ever-so-beautiful Stacy Stahersky. When a slow rumble from the back of the class started to make its way forward, and it started with a note from Peter Zupas, scratched on the back of a program, and it said, "Party at Krigler's house, tonight at 10. Shazam, that's what I was waiting for. Game on. Now it was my job to pass the note forward in hopes it would make it all the way up to Scotty Abbott. But first I seized the opportunity to make my move. Now was my chance. I sat straight up as I could be, and I tapped Stacy on the shoulder, and I gave her a wink, and I handed her the note, and she snatched it out of my hand, and she read it, and she passed it on. Soon after, she penned on the back of her program a note. She folded it, and she passed it to me. What was happening? Finally, after 4 long years, she sees the diamond in the rough, the man in the child, the stud in the pony. That's a little too much information. I slowly opened the note and I read it, and it said, "Rick, you are a goon." More beautiful words had never been spoken. I immediately turned to Jimmy Scott and I said, "Jimmy." And he looked at me like I was a goon. I said, "Look, man, she knows my name. My life was complete. Love, so innocent, so magic, so fleeting." And now fast forward 39 years. Your class is poised to graduate. Passing notes from Zupas to Abbott, that's lame now. Notes have been replaced by some digital technology form. And really, there's a digital technology revolution that's going on. You are peering out across that horizon. You got to know what to do with it, how to harness it for good. Keep exploring, setting the foundation for whatever the next revolution is. Now, if only I had a cell phone back in 1980, then Stacy could have told me a long time ago how she felt. Maybe not such a great idea. But see, my brain didn't operate on the same plane that Steve Jobs did. It operated more on the lines of a Charlie Sheen. But that was the story of my life. Lots of dreams without plans. But those came. Look, your graduating class is full of visionaries, inventors, artists, and creative minds. You are just changing the world one text at a time. You may not be able to clean up your room or load a dishwasher, but at your core, there is goodness. You demonstrate courage and sacrifice and selfless service and respect every day. That's because you're a next peer. You're different. Now that you're about to be graduates, I say to you, take a stand. Stand up for your generation. Decide today that you will challenge prejudice. Because simply put, you are the hope for a better tomorrow. And I am proud to pass the torch of humanity to you. And with every step you take, I'll be watching you. But I can't let you leave today without passing off 8 quick points. Some refer to these as words of wisdom. These are words that I brought my children up with, and I like to think they use them today. Number 1, decide what you stand for before you decide what you want to be. There's plenty of time to figure out if you want to be a teacher or a business owner or a policeman, but you are old enough and smart enough and wise enough now to know what you stand for. Decide today, now, this minute, what you feel so strong about that you'll say, no, not going to happen. Start with your integrity. Never give it away, and don't ever let anybody take it from you. Number 2, take chances, bold chances. Take risks. With risks come failure, and that's okay. Plan for it. Failure is more than an option. It's a fact of life. We all go through it. The measure of a person is not how well you succeed, but how well you handle those setbacks. Number 3, listen to old people, really old people. Go find them. Don't interrupt them. Shut your mouth and listen. Ask them about their youth, their families, and their hardships. Find your Mr. Match. Your life will be greatly enriched. Number 4, when you're least expecting it, give your mom and dad a hug around the neck and tell them how much you love them. It will freak them out. They will want to know what kind of trouble you're in. Just smile and walk away. Number 5, shake hands with people. Reach out your hand first. Look them in the eye. Just do it. Number 6, say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. It works wonders. Number 7, do your part to clean up the environment. Walk more, ride less. Number 8, do well in life, but most importantly, do good. So finally, I'd like to end with the most important comments in my speech. Listen carefully. You all have a bond, a very, very special bond. That bond will never be broken. You are a next family. You are strong, you are resilient, and you are loved. Now here's my challenge to you. You can choose to go out in the world and be a victim, or you can choose to be an adventurer out searching for treasure. Go find your treasure. Families in the audience, thank you for sharing your children with us. You had a choice. You brought them to us, and we love them. Thank you for accompanying us on this great adventure, this great experiment called Next High School. Now, graduates, get out there. Go to college, learn a skill, get a job, start off on a new life adventure. But for peace sake, don't take yourself too seriously. Smile, dance, laugh, kiss your dog. Life is good. But whatever you do it with the confidence of a 4-year-old in a Batman t-shirt. Thank you for allowing me to spend this special day with you. I love you all.